All right, hello and welcome everyone to episode 78 of the GGG Podcast. Got a lot of good news to talk about today, and some little quirky game releases to talk about as well. And my co-host Phil will be filling us in on those game releases in just a little bit. How you doing, Phil? Did you have a good week? Any game time this week?
I have had a great week. I've spent a lot of time playing the new game actually that I played with you just earlier this week, Repo. A lot of fun this game. It's one of those games where the comedy is built into it in such a way that like everything that happens is funny. For those of you who don't know what the game Repo is, you're playing as like these little android-looking robots, and I mean android is in like the phone Android, the little like those dudes. Your mouths flap like the Canadians in South Park when you talk. There is what's the right word? Environmental sound stuff. So like if you go around a corner, you can hear someone like kind of talking through the wall, muffled. If you get possessed by a demon, you'll have a deep voice. A lot of really funny stuff in this game, but you are repossessing stuff from several different like haunted houses or like the place from It. Oh, not
Sure.
It. The Thing.
Yes.
So that's the concept of the game. It ends up having like all these really fun, silly situations, and then like you'll die just be watching your friends. So much fun.
Yeah. Better than Lethal Company. I'm just saying.
Better than Lethal. Yeah, it's like
they did it first. They did it first, but
PUBG came out first, and then Fortnite came out, and Fortnite was undeniably better than PUBG. Marvel Rivals is undeniably better than Overwatch, especially now. I've also been going back and playing a lot of Middle-earth Shadow of War, which is just
you always go back to that game. That
you
is
can't
like
leave it for too long.
an oldie but a goodie, yeah.
A, it looks fantastic on my computer, and B, it's really fun just like feeling like that Batman Arkham Knight combat, and then also the one place that we have the Nemesis system that is just such like a beautiful, wonderful thing that we'll never see again for probably 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, we've brought it up so many times. I'm upset every single time.
Yeah, I'm never going to get over it. What have you been playing this week?
Well, before I answer that, I noticed, Phil, there was a key game left off of your I played this week, and that is Claire Obscure's Expedition 33. Why is that? Why have you not played it?
I finished it, and it was amazing, but it's hard to go back. And this is I feel like we're going to have a spoiler discussion about this game at some point, because even the ending, there is so much crazy stuff going on that I feel kind of like emotionally exhausted. But it's still such a good game. Like, there's still so much stuff to do, and I've been working on builds a little bit. Right. But I think maybe I might never stop playing it, and it should always just be assumed that Claire Obscure Expedition 33 is on some screen in my house.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I've been playing a lot of that. I needed your help desperately. There is an Act 2 boss that I could not beat. And I think what the problem is you have to do these Phil so kindly pointed out that you have to defeat these other mini bosses before you fight this one boss. Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible. And I had stopped playing like right before I fought that full boss. And then I didn't play for a couple days. And then I went back to it. And then I was like, what am I doing? Okay, yeah, just go this way. And so I was very disoriented. But yes, after I beat those mini bosses, everything was easier. Everything was flowing. I leveled up my characters to levels that they should be. I'm pretty close to level 40 now. So like characters are getting more powerful, which is nice. But yeah, playing that a lot. Played a couple matches of Marvel Rivals. Playing some more finals, dude. I can't stop. Like, I got some of my friends to re-download it, and I gifted a battle pass, and I think I'm on a wired internet connection now, and I've been using Wi-Fi like an idiot, And now that I have that wired internet connection, I'm just like, okay, oh, I'm really good at this game.
Solid game changer, right?
Yes, I feel so affirmed that I don't suck. So that's been very nice. But and then most notably, I played Doom: The Dark Ages, which I do want to talk a little bit about. Although Doom is in the news, so we're going to talk a little bit about it a little bit more later. But just got some general impressions of Doom: The Dark Ages. Overall, I think it's a good game. But I think there's kind of this unique qualifier that I agree with, and that much of the online community agrees with as well, in that it is a very good Game Pass game, is kind of what people have been saying. It's what I say as well. It's just, it still feels like Doom. It has its own unique take on the combat and everything like that. But I don't know. There's just something, some secret sauce that's missing, or something. That just, I only played about 3 hours of it, and I haven't gone back, and I'm going to, but I'm more going to go back out of like forcing myself to give it a chance, rather than like having the desire to go back and play this game. And also, I will note, it doesn't run that well on my PC. And I mean, it runs like, I can get 60 frames and everything like that, but it's one of those games that does dynamic resolution. And I understand the point of dynamic resolution, but for me, it's just like, if I'm telling you to run it in a resolution and dynamic resolution is on, all the game is doing is going, no, I'm not actually going to do that. And that's like, I've been playing with like, fuzzy edges, and things are just not crisp and clear like I would expect them to be, especially on my computer. And what's shocking to me about that is I feel like, are the graphics better than Doom 2016? Yeah, but I would say the graphics are pretty much the same as Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
And I can run Doom Eternal beautifully. So why is it that graphically the exact same engine and everything, my computer is struggling with it? And that just tells me that the game is not optimized as well as it could be. And also, before I booted it up, it like pinged me as with a pop-up notification being like, by the way, we have a special NVIDIA driver for this game. Please download it before you play the game. And
I got that same thing.
Yeah, and like, I always update drivers, but it's really rare that a game tells you to do that specifically. And it did run better after I installed it, but it just kind of feels, I don't know. I feel like
hey, fair warning, this is gonna probably run like dog crap.
Yep.
so get this driver. No, I played probably a good hour or two of Doom, Dark Ages, Doom Eternal. Which one? What is it called?
Doom: The Dark Ages.
Doom: The Dark Ages. I played a good hour and a half of it, and that's early to get a full impression. That's early to get a lot. But I think for me, the age range that I should have been playing Doom in has passed, and it is long in the rearview mirror. I never played the God of War games prior to 2018 because, like, I was like, I'm not like blasting Nickelback and slurping down gamer fuel.
Wow.
I don't necessarily. I'm not. This is maybe not my jive. But I think that Doom Dark Ages just feels like more Doom.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the appeal is other than like the shield bash move is kind of unquestionably one of the best things you could do in the game.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really interesting game mechanics, but it also at the same time feels super simplistic in a way that like Doom Eternal did not, because the movement, I feel like, kept you on your toes so much. Whereas I feel like this is like, you have the shield charge. It kind of feels like the Vanguard slam in Mass Effect. And you're just doing that constantly.
Yeah.
And it
you
feels,
just jump up, target someone, bam. Jump up, target someone, bam.
Yeah, and it feels good, but it's like, what else is there beyond this? So yeah, but still a good game. But yeah, good Game Pass game. I don't know if I'd recommend buying Doom: The Dark Ages for its regular full price.
I mean, to be fair, Clair Obscur is a Game Pass game for me. So my
But
bar for Game Pass games is
that's a great game though. That's not a
yeah.
great Game Pass game.
I would pay real life money for it, but Game Pass gave it to me for free. So my bar is all screwed up.
Yeah. Honestly, I may buy Expedition 33 on my PlayStation just so I can like play it on my Portal whenever, because like I think like games on the PlayStation Portal are awesome when they're not like online games, and when they're not, a turn-based game is perfect for that, because I can just put it down and it's fine. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get into this week's major game releases. But before we do, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. We'd really appreciate it. And if you're listening to the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow us over there as well. Phil, you added these 2 games to the major game releases. You are game release captain this episode. What do we got going on in the latter half of May?
Well, I don't know if captain is the right term. I think maybe engineer is, because choo-choo, mother trucker, Monster Train is here, and it is great. It's got a 90 on metascore. It's got a lot of really great reviews. I believe in OpenCritic it's an 88 with 100% recommended. So Monster Train is a roguelite. Think Binding of Isaac. Think any sort of game where you're doing like a run consistently. But Monster Train specifically is about a train coming from hell that is trying to breach the gates of heaven. That's what happens in the first game. You've breached the gates of heaven, and now you are in heaven fighting the heavenly forces with your ragtag group of demons that you assemble through like having decks of cards. So you'll like, I'm going to play this angel. It's got 2 attack or whatever, and then I'm going to amplify it with this weapon. So it's kind of, if you like card games, if you like Slay the Spire, this has a lot of that with like some really cute creature stuff in there and a lot of really cool modifications. And then decision you're making as you're taking the train like up the pearly gates. Like, oh, I'm going to go this way and get more money, or I'm going to go this way and get more health. So, yeah, I played a run. It's kind of the introductory run, which I was like, it's tough when you play one of those games. You're like, I'm not going to win in the first run.
Exactly. This is about learning. Yeah.
It's about learning. Let me just throw spaghetti at the wall. But I'm really excited to get back to it. Monster Train 2 seems like they just amped everything from Monster Train 1 up. I think they got more resources to build this one, so that you can kind of tell just immediately from playing it. But it's a lot like the same. If you enjoy, what are those games? Steam World. It's kind of got that same feel, where it's got like a very distinct graphical style, but it's nailing it. And yeah, that is available today, immediately, right now on Game Pass. And I think, let me look at the Steam page just to get the price, because Monster Train, $24.99.
2020 or what?
$24.99.
$24.99. That seems like a good price, but also like if it's on Game Pass, that's great too. I mean, just looking at the gameplay, it looks drastically different from Hades, but thematically very similar. Seems like.
True. Yeah, you're trying to get into hell. It's like a different theology's take on it.
Yeah, but same heaven hell stuff.
Same mumbo jumbo.
Same mumbo jumbo. It's just going up. Yeah. Only and what's the second game going on?
It's an only up game because they're very popular recently. Deliver at All Cost is the other game that's coming out this week. The 22nd it releases. It is another kind of indie, but it harkens back to like the original Grand Theft Auto games. It's a top-down game where you're watching, you're controlling a car that's doing like specific missions. Some of them are like go scare the public, and you have to drive around all erratically and smash through stuff. It's a very physics-based game, so you're like plowing through fences, you're running into people, you're causing mayhem and destruction as you try to deliver this thing or that thing. You'll have to do stuff where you're like, the world's biggest fish has been caught by the piers, and you have to get it to the museum. So you like load it on top of your car, and it's just up there like jabbering its mouth, and you're slamming through stuff. Or another mission I saw is go find proof of alien life, and you have to go track down UFOs as they're like picking up.
That's cows. Great. That sounds really quirky and really fun, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's got that like destroy all humans kind of tongue-in-cheek style, meeting the sort of like carefree destruction of everything that the old Grand Theft Auto games had. So
Right on.
yeah,
That sounds great. Is that also on Game Pass?
I don't believe that one is on Game Pass.
Okay.
It's had a lot of hype recently.
Mhm.
And I know I pulled that guy up just a minute ago to see how much it is. But yeah, I think hold on. I should say how much it is before I find it. But I'm gonna say if it's like under $30, it's right in my zone. And guess what? $26.99 with 10% off on Steam. So
Interesting price, $26.99.
well, it's
someone
$29.99
really
with-
crunched the numbers on that one.
Someone was like, Phil will buy it if we do this.
All right. Well, right on. It's good to have some solid indie games come out, and especially when they're so unique and quirky, to really separate them from the crowd. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
Oh, there's so much coming out this year. I feel like we're eating too good as is. So I think the best thing is like to get some really strange new stuff. Even games that we love, like Helldivers 2, are serving us so much good new stuff.
It's true. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. We'll talk about that more later.
It's crazy. Yes, we are going to talk about it in the news. But first, somehow, Star Wars Battlefront has returned. For whatever reason, and I think I know probably what reason, is season 2 of Andor came out, and it was amazing. And people are like, "Oh my God, a Star Wars show can be this good," and so everybody's hyped. And so Star Wars Battlefront 2, as many of you know, had a chaotic, hectic launch. I've been a big, promoter of Star Wars Battlefront 2 after all of the updates, after the game had essentially been fixed. But once EA fixed the game, they're like, "Okay, we fixed the game. We're getting out. We don't want any part. We don't want any of the smoke online anymore," because frankly, people like tore the game to sunder. Like it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, people like hated this game when it launched, and for some good reason. So I'm not saying that people were doing it because an EA didn't deserve it or anything like that.
Oh no. Their progression system was tied to loot boxes, so
Yes.
Of course everyone's gonna hate that.
Yes, absolutely. But surprisingly, last week, Star Wars Battlefront's servers reached, I believe it was 100,000 people. Or am I reading that wrong? Let me go back to the article. Here we go. Okay, so that was on May the 4th. They reached 100,000 concurrent players on Steam, which is very impressive. But it was May the 4th, so it could have just been a little blip here and there. But with Andor and all the Star Wars hype going around, there has been a solid 10,000 players still playing Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is honestly pretty good, because I played Star Wars Battlefront 2 up until basically early last year with my partner, and like we were really upset because nobody was playing anymore, and so we're like, all right, well, I don't want to play in servers with like 2 other people, so I'm gonna uninstall this game. And so the fact that there's 10,000 players playing right now is phenomenal. And another reason why this hype and this energy in this generation is going on is because streamers and content creators out there are pushing for Battlefront 3 to be made. They have gone back and played the updated Battlefront 2 and have seen what I had been preaching for years, that it had been fixed and that it is finally a good game. And now they want the 3rd iteration of that game. And so it's really catching on heavily on TikTok, but I've also seen it on YouTube as well, where people are posting constantly about Star Wars Battlefront. And so I am all for it if they can show EA that there's enough online interest that they'll make a Star Wars Battlefront 3. I don't think it will happen, but I'm struggling to understand how big companies are green-lighting some games nowadays. And I know that a lot of them are just going to the internet and being like, what's popular? What can we do that's popular? And if we're gonna do, and if the community is gonna do this market research for them and say, hey, we are the customers that are ready to play this game, maybe EA would pony up and do a Star Wars Battlefront 3. What do you think, Phil? Is this even remotely possible?
No.
Oh, you are so good at the nose, man. You are so good at it.
you just gotta know your moment. No pun intended. But I don't think so. Just because Disney is so much more gun shy, I feel like, about their game stuff, especially like with EA. That we went through a period where they gave EA like, do whatever you want, man, go nuts, and now that EA's not the sole executor of those rights anymore to make Star Wars games, I feel like they are a lot more touchy. And also EA's credibility, not that it was ever super high, but they went from being like, the fact that Disney worked with them, they were one of the highest like names in gaming, to now there's like 15 people left working on Mass Effect 5.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's a super big possibility. Here is what I hope is possible, that Disney finds people to make Battlefield 3, but
Battlefront 3?
Probably not EA. Battlefront 3. The Battlefield, let's make a new Battlefield, first of all.
I don't know.
Make Battlefront 3 and not EA.
I don't know if legally they can do that. I think EA might own Battlefront. You know what I mean? Like, they don't own Star Wars, but see, the interesting thing there is I think the only way this game gets made is if Disney goes to EA and says, hey, we've been seeing all of this stuff online that people want the third iteration of this game. We want you to make it again. I don't think EA does anything on their own. And especially with all the cuts that, we've talked about with layoffs and everything like that. And you just mentioned Dragon Age and Mass Effect. I don't really see it happening. I would love it. And a part of my brain would like to believe that it would be cheaper for EA to make Battlefront 3 because they already poured so much work and effort into modernizing the series. So they probably still have all of those assets. And now, like, Battlefront 3 released on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So it's like, the game looks great. You wouldn't have to do much to the graphics. And so it's like, you could reuse a lot of the assets. Maybe crank a few knobs here or there, turn up this, turn up that. But like, you could reuse most of the assets and just be like, here's new maps. Here's new heroes. Here's a new co-op mode, which honestly, the co-op mode is the most popular mode since Battlefront 2 got updated. And I think part of the reason, there were a lot of reasons, like we discussed, that people hated Battlefront 2. But part of the reason they hated Battlefront 2 is because when the game came out, it really only had like 2 modes in it, and it was all competitive. And so the mass market who loves Star Wars, kind of the gamers, they jumped in and they're like, oh, to play the Star Wars game, I have to play against other real people. And they got their butts handed to them because they
said pass.
Yeah, exactly. And then they got furious and they're like, this game is awful because I suck at it. And like, look, it's a hard game when you're playing that game competitively, but put in some co-op modes. People will eat this crap up. Why do you think Helldivers is doing so well? Like,
true. Well, here's the thing that I did find. Like I said, I think my biggest doubts come from EA, just because their instincts are not great.
No,
their instincts are very much like, how can we make money off of someone picking up the controller?
Yes.
So, I did find out though. So remember, there was those old Battlefront games, Battlefront 1 and 2, on the PlayStation 2. I believe the rights are still with Lucas Games or LucasArts. And so they did a joint venture with EA to make the game. Someone else could, in theory, make it. I think like if Disney wanted to, they have probably the more of the mobility to just pick it up and be like, all right, who wants to make this?
Sure.
Not saying that EA couldn't, because I know Battlefront 2 is good now, but I think it's also like, it's a completely different animal than like the original Battlefront 2 that I know people.
Yeah.
That was the reason we got the Battlefront reboot in the first place. So I just, I would love it, but I do think it's cool that like Battlefront 2 is still as available as it is, and now that it's complete, like you can play as Kylo Ren fighting Yoda.
Sounds like an SNL skit.
Yeah, a Yoda yoga class would be pretty sick as an SNL sketch. Yes. But now that the game is complete, I think that's also like part of the reason it is so well loved. It's one of the instances where the Game of the Year edition or like a celebration edition is very warranted because they've added so much since its inception.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
that's my biggest holdover is. I don't know if EA's got the smoke right now.
I agree with you. I completely agree. I want it to. My heart wants it to happen. My brain is telling me no. All right.
But my metachlorians are telling me yes.
Yes. All right, moving right along with the news. So Doom, The Dark Ages, we talked a little bit about this a couple minutes ago, but with some news fresh off the shelves, it has hit 3 million players, but not 3 million sales. And I think this kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the top of the podcast, which is that this is a good Game Pass game. On Steam, there was only recorded up to 100,000 concurrent players for Doom: The Dark Ages over its release window, which I think is very telling that that's how many copies they sold, at least on PC. And that the majority of players, the majority of these 3 million players are coming from Xbox Game Pass. And, the Doom press people over at id and Bethesda and whatnot, took to social media and to announce that this is the fastest Doom launch we've gotten here, 7 times faster than Doom Eternal. We've gotten to 3 million players. And that's really cool, but Doom Eternal was not available on Game Pass. So I'm curious to see how this, I still am so interested in what the structure is with Game Pass of how they're compensated. Is it if I add this to my Game Pass library, do they get compensated? If I'm playing it for a certain amount of time, do they get compensated? I'm really curious on how that works because this is notably it's amazing that there's 3 million players playing the game, but I don't know. I would be disappointed if players aren't buying the game and it's just playing it on Game Pass by itself. So
it's one of those things where I believe it's a lot like Netflix, where they're going to be really catty about their sales because this is id. It is owned by Microsoft. They're not going to want to tell us too much, especially when Game Pass is such a benefit, seemingly a benefit for them. But I think they are trying to make themselves the place to play. Right. Rather than being, making stuff that people buy the individually. Just everyone's in on Game Pass because every month you got your Clair Obscures, you got your Dooms, you got their Dune Spice Wars. You got everything that it kind of just cycles through there so that I'm always asking people oh, do you have Game Pass? We just play it on there. I think that's what they're going for more than individual sales. The individual sales are still great, but I think it is not the same translation as what was that show with Kevin Spacey where he played a politician?
House of Cards
on Netflix. Yeah, House of Cards is kind of like their Doom, where they just need some big things to get people onto the ecosystem.
Some headlines.
Sure, there will be DVD sales. Yeah, but as long as they have these big Stranger Things Season 6 is coming.
Right.
But hey, maybe come back and check out Tempest House or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just, I don't know. It's, again, we're witnessing this big shift in the market. I think Xbox is clearly ahead of the game as far as games as a service, as a subscription. And you alluded to the Netflix model. So, and them being under the Microsoft umbrella just makes a whole lot of sense. So, but it is cool that a lot of people are playing it. People who probably have not been exposed to Doom before. So I guess that's something to be happy about. Yeah. All right. Moving right along. So Take-Two Interactive in the news this week because their games, Borderlands 3 and even Borderlands 2, are starting to get review bombed because of Take-Two Interactive's terms of service. And just so everyone knows, or as a reminder to everyone out there, Take-Two Interactive is also the owner of Rockstar, for the upcoming Grand Theft Auto 6 that's going to be hopefully coming out next year. And so people...
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. But with their terms of service, it's kind of like if you make an account with them, they get access to all of your account information and they can sell all of your account information, which I'll be honest, most companies are doing that anyway. But people have been notably upset about this. And so that's why they take into review bombing Borderlands 3 and maybe they will do the same in Borderlands 4 if Take-Two Interactive does not update their terms of service. I don't know. This is a little weird. Like, nothing that I read from what I've seen in the terms of service for this are things that like other companies don't do. I don't like this at all. I don't want people selling my information, but it seems like it's such an industry standard now that I'm kind of numbed out to it. How do you feel about this, Phil?
Well, I'm just glad that someone still wants my information. You know what I mean?
Sure.
No, Take-Two sucks. And I feel like Take-Two is kind of the weight around a lot of companies' necks. That said, Borderlands also has become, I feel like, it went from being this, not indie darling, but, a darling franchise that was transgressive and, like, cool, to now just being, like, the most popcorn schlock video game where, it didn't age up with its audience, and the audience aged out of it. So I don't really know who Borderlands games are for anymore, outside of people who enjoy the looting shooting aspect of it, which is, it's good. There are better looter shooters like Destiny. But, I don't know. We live in a pretty interesting time with all this sales stuff, and I feel like we're constantly having this battle between rights and anti-cheat and all these different like softwares that are in games. What's the Unovo? There's one that's built into a lot of games on PC.
Sure.
That absolutely tanks their performance. So yeah, I Take-Two is kind of known for this stuff, and I feel like they're the reason Grand Theft Auto 5 is going to be $120 for the base, or Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be $120 for the base edition.
Ooh, no, it'll be $100. Come on, it'll be $100. Like, let's go. $200 for the Ultimate Edition, and then you're going to have to spend $5,000 in GTA Online
so... to get one car.
Yes,
and it's going to be a Miata. It's not going to be great.
Yeah.
That's a bummer, but it also makes a lot of sense. So can we go on to the next story that
Absolutely.
is also a bummer?
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Start it
but
out.
Also in a way that I like a little bit more.
Okay.
AI voice of Darth Vader has unions upset. So, in Fortnite, they're constantly updating their game. They're doing a season of Star Wars thing. You can go recruit Darth Vader to be on your team. You can also just go talk to him in the world. He responds to the in-game voice chat. And they use an AI model of James Earl Jones' voice, along with like a AI model of what he is allowed to say, to have him respond to you. He talks to you. He will address you by either your screen name or what character you look like. I heard him talking to Indiana Jones in a video. And SAG is very upset about this because it is one of the things that currently actors and the Actors Union is fighting against for a lot of games, is the ability of companies to take a voice model of somebody from taking like different information from them and making an AI version of it that can speak to people on their behalf.
Right.
It will take away a lot of jobs if that is the case. So I am bummed about it for the sake that like this is just a step towards that. But I also think as a gamer, I kind of like because AI has been used in the game such a long time, I like this to an extent of like, okay, we're not going to realistically hire someone to speak to or like speak in game,
Yeah.
but here is a version of that. Here is
Yeah.
yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, this is a really interesting circumstance. So like
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, and I do think like the cat's out of the bag. There's going to be AI voiceover in video games. There already is, clearly. I just think that if you are using somebody's voice, you need to pay for that voice. And so if it was my voice, and like people don't think about that because they're not performers, but if someone took your voice and manipulated it in a way and then was profiting off of your voice, you'd be a little upset about that probably.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
It'd be very weird.
So here's the thing about this particular incident that I think SAG is going to lose this is because Epic Games got the blessing of the James Earl Jones estate to do this. And so with their blessing, they're able to use James Earl Jones's voice. So what SAG is really saying is like, well, you should have hired someone else who could do a Darth Vader voice and then license, that person's voice or have them record voice lines. And I feel like this is kind of showing that SAG doesn't really understand video games. And that is a problem because there's a lot of voice actors. There's the video game voice actor strike is still going on right now, which is probably why Epic is dabbling in the AI voiceover space. So like, I think we just need to reach an agreement where it's like you hire an actor to use that actor's voice and then, they get paid like a fee. It doesn't have to be a recurring fee or anything like that. But if you are profiting off of using someone else's assets, you need to pay for those assets. It's, to flip it back on Epic Games themselves, you guys made Unreal Engine. That's your property. And you allow people to use Unreal Engine to make games. But you take some off the top if they start selling those games. So the same thing has to apply the other way around. So that's how I feel about it in this specific case, though, because they got the blessing. I don't really know what they can do.
This is going to sound like I feel like I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, but I think if there is a way to do it, this is like one of the better ones. Like the estate's probably I have to double check to make sure, but I think the estate is getting some compensation like for the use of his voice. I think what it's going to take is new contracts being written up for, okay, well, how long is this AI voice going to be used? Stipulations of what it can and cannot say, which of course will be broken, which is one of the interesting things about this. But then, all right, it is used for this season, and then it is gone. You don't have access to use this forever. The AI model built off of something, I think, owes its likeness, like a likeness fee, pretty much.
Yeah.
And as long as you are using it, you are paying that likeness fee.
Yeah.
And if they want to take it out, then it's got to go. You got to delete all the files, everything. So it's a tricky gray area, and I think if we don't get out in front of it and start being like, okay, well, these are the details for it, boom, 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 that's how it works. Then we're going to lose to companies just slowly creeping forward, and the consumers getting more and more used to it because people are enjoying Darth Vader. You can get him to say
lots of crazy things.
Donkey video. Yeah, some crazy stuff. So yeah, I honestly have to say I'm going to download Fortnite again because I want to go see what's going on in this game.
Wow. All right. Well, it's clearly working for Epic then. So yeah. All right. Well, we'll monitor that situation as it continues to evolve. I'm curious to see what happens when we start dealing with actors who are alive. So that's a big thing. So yeah. All right. But let's move on to my favorite news of the week, Phil, and that is a ginormous Helldivers 2 event and update. Helldivers 2 Heart of Democracy came out I believe it was yesterday, the day prior recording this, and the Illuminates have reached Super Earth. It is all hands on deck. Prior to this update, the servers had been fine. There was a war bond that was released recently, but I think they were kind of floating around 80,000 players at any given point. Yesterday, by like 8 a.m., there were 200,000 Helldivers on the servers trying to repel the Illuminate attack, which is fantastic. And along with this huge event that's going on, we got a bunch of new content for the game. So number one on that list is new full map city environments. And we've gotten kind of urban environments with like smaller towns or like kind of pseudo cities or stuff like that. But now
a lot of outposts.
But on Super Earth now, it's like you have skyscrapers on the map, and you have to factor that into gameplay because you have your super destroyer like above, and if you call something in and your super destroyer is at the wrong angle, it will have to move in order to shoot an orbital bombardment. So it'll like take a second, and there's now an icon where you can see where your super destroyer is.
That's cool.
It is super cool. Or like if you call it an Eagle Strike, it takes a little longer because they have to position it where they can come down an alleyway kind of a thing to drop something off. And that is fantastic as well. There's new enemies that have been added to this. There's a new Leviathan ship in the Helldivers game. It is this giant, I've been comparing it to the like space snakes from Avengers 1.
Also called Leviathans, I believe.
Yeah, probably. And that's been fantastic. They're really tough to take down, but you can do that, and it's so satisfying watching them like crash down and fall into like skyscrapers, and then all the destruction happening after that. There's a new mission objective where you now have these giant planetary orbital guns that are hidden under playgrounds scattered throughout Super Earth cities. And so they're little children's playgrounds that open up, and there's this giant gun that rises out of the ground. And then it's a 3-man job where one person controls the left to right orientation, one person controls the up to down orientation, and another person has to fire the gun in order to take down one of the giant Illuminate ships that's hovering over the area.
That's awesome.
Yes. And then the last big thing, although there are a couple of other small things, is they have added friendly NPCs called the Seaf Troopers. So because you're on Super Earth, there are Seaf Troopers that are on Super Earth that are just fighting alongside you. And if you go up to them and you tell them to follow you, they will follow you. And you can like put them in certain positions, be like, okay, stay here, and they're great for defense missions and whatnot. But it's great seeing the battlefield so alive with all of this different stuff going on. And so I'm obviously very excited about it, Phil, but I want you to get in here with your opinion as well before I continue monologuing. So are you going to get back on Helldivers 2, Phil? Are you going to do it?
Yeah, no, I do. I need to. So here's my thing. I need to reassemble my gang, my squad. Mm-hmm. And that is always the toughest thing, even for video games. As a gamer, you got friends who are like, also gamers, but not to the same degree.
Yep.
Yes. I feel the responsibility to be like, come on, guys, Super Earth. And
hopefully with a little bit more enthusiasm than that. Come on, guys. Super Earth.
It's Super Earth. Like it's less like I'm not even supposed to be. I'm just like disappointed if we can't get back in for Super Earth. Yeah. Like this is the end game. Are you going to miss the battle? Are you going to miss coming through one of those cool sparkly rings? Mm-hmm. Hell no. You're going to get out there and you're going to shoot some weird gray alien putties in the head. I'm really excited about this. The Helldivers 2 has been like, they've been drip feeding us stuff for a long time. A full year of content has like continually come out. I feel like they've figured out how to do their weapon nerfs and buffs, which is stop nerfing just buffs.
Yep.
And just give you fun stuff to do and make the game match that. So I think it's like at fighting form, it's just kind of convincing, your normal play group. I mean, I feel like your play group has been pretty consistently in on Helldivers.
We have a specific Helldivers 2 tab in our primary Discord, and we probably post in it more than any of the other tabs. So
it's a good thing to have. But so I'm really excited to get back into it. It's just like getting the squad back together, dusting off our boots, because I've been on the Expedition 33 front, and I got to come back in and be like, I've been fighting a different battle over there. Smoke a long cigarette and put my helmet back on. Really excited for it. I think I will say my experience with the Illuminate in the last, in the update where they first showed up, not my favorite enemy type to fight. The Terminids and the robots are a lot more fun for me. But
the Illuminate are hard.
They're hard, and they're kind of they feel a little bit spongy.
Sure.
You could just load it in them for a while, and it's like, what is the damage? What is going on?
It's
here?
Really totally agree. The Illuminate are the hardest enemy, hands down. I've found that you have to get very specific with your loadout when you're fighting Illuminate. I feel like sometimes you kind of have this wiggle room with the bots and the bugs, because I feel like with those two enemy groups, you really only have to worry about, how do I deal with the lesser enemies? How do I deal with the heavy enemies? And as long as you have those two things, you're fine. With the Illuminate, it's like, okay, I need to think about the 5 different things I'm going to have to engage, and I need one for that, one for that, one for that, one for that, one for that. And so it really makes you think about what you're bringing. And there's just a lot of trial and error of that gun sucks versus them. This gun really works well versus them. But they still have struck the balance of there not being a set meta where it's this is the loadout you have to run. It's no, there's still tons of different combinations you can do. It's just that you have to plan to fight you have to have all those different enemies in mind. But I don't know. I played it last night. I love it. I have been so in love with Helldivers since it came out, and I've been so impressed with the amount of content that they have poured out in this game. And I do understand they have been charging for war bonds, although you can earn the currency in game if you really want to do that and take the time. You can buy war bonds for free if you really want to take the time to do that. You can. But I was talking to one of my friends last night, and we were just talking about no other game adds this much content unless you're talking about an MMO. Where it's we got a new faction. We're getting new enemy units. We're getting all these new weapons. Now you can level up and upgrade all the primary weapons in the game. So that's a new grind thing you can do, and you can change it so it's this gun that had horrible recoil. Now you can get a modification so it has better recoil. So you didn't like it before, but now you like it because you put the time in. And so there's just so much content that they've poured in this game, and the overarching narrative of the war. It feels just having a dungeon master working on this online game that everybody likes. And even though to some people it may sound gimmicky, it's look at what Call of Duty is doing, where it's this is another John Wick update, and now the new movie, The Ballerina. We've got The Ballerina in Call of Duty, and I'm not saying that movie's bad or anything by any means, but it just feels like it's more than
you can.
Okay, all right. But I'm saying what Helldivers is doing, they're doing more than just being what's in pop culture right now? Let's put that in the game. And they're taking the time to build something, and they keep adding to it, and they keep listening to the community. And this has been such a success, and I love it so much. And I wasn't even crazy about this last war bond. I didn't think it came with a lot of good stuff, but I bought it anyway because I want to support this structure of, and I didn't really buy it. Got I spent $5 and it was supposed to be 10, but it's because I had extra currency because I play the game.
They're rewarding you for staying with it, which is pretty damn cool.
Exactly. So all right, that's my soapbox. That's my Helldivers soapbox.
Hey, get on Helldivers, everyone. Go play it.
Go play it. Go save Super Earth. Gosh darn it. Oh my God.
Okay, hold on. I know we're like running a little bit long. We have another story to cover, but I
Yes.
will say, I think that I love Helldivers, and I think like the sort of Starship Trooper, like the vibe of it is so on point, but also because of current time, a little bit hard for my escapism.
Sure. Yes.
That's the
Does the fascism get to you a little bit?
it rubs me the wrong. I need
Does
to have like
managed democracy get to you a little bit?
we're gonna go and just start pulling Terminids out of their homes. Let's move on before I get sad.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, speaking of getting bad, so Nintendo, we got this report kind of came out last week, and I feel like Nintendo, they either the fans don't care that much or they're doing a very good job of burying these stories. So we already got the news that when you buy a Switch 2 game, you don't actually own it. You own a license to play the game, or you're renting a license to play the game, or whatever. But there was another story that came out that says Nintendo can actually disable your Switch 2 remotely if you make any modifications to your Switch 2, which to me is a huge red flag, because what that means is that that's not your private property. It's this similarly, people who buy Tesla can turn off your car if they deem that they want to. And so it's like, if they have the power to deactivate your device, do you really own it, or are you just renting it from this company and whatnot? And so this, honestly, with Nintendo, this has been a lot of things. It's been like, okay, all the game prices are going up. Okay, you have a license to play the game. You don't actually own the game. Okay, well you can't give your friend a copy, but they can borrow it for a certain amount of time. Okay, you have to pay for the in-game chat. Okay, all right, but there's a tutorial that shows you how the Nintendo Switch 2 works, but you have to pay for that as well. It's monetized as well, and it's just like, I don't know when the bad news is going to stop, and I don't know where the line is with Nintendo fans, and if they're ever going to be like, all right, no, I'm not going to buy that, and I don't think that they will, and it's kind of driving me a little crazy.
Well, if it ever gets too bad, Nintendo will just show a trailer for the new Mario game, and no one will talk about the bad news anymore. Like Nintendo, I'm semi-joking, but also Nintendo has just such a grip over their customer base.
They do.
And it's not that it is like a cult-like thing. They produce quality stuff. Everything that Nintendo makes that is like a Nintendo brand game kind of beats Tushy. Pokemon is maybe the exception, because Pokemon is also just one of the biggest IP in the world. So when a Pokemon game comes out, everyone's going to play it, and a lot of people are going to complain about it, whether it's bad or not.
Yeah.
And some of the times, like with Pokemon X and Y, or not X and Y, whatever the most recent ones were, there was a lot of issues playing the game. Now we are in the age of the Nintendo Switch 2, and people are so hungry for it that I think they are willing to ignore pretty much anything. Nintendo has waited so long to release a new console that they desperately need, but the games that they've made for it, if you enjoy those type of games, like the two Legend of Zelda games were very highly loved by everybody. We haven't had a new Mario Kart since the Switch 2 launched, or Switch launched, which is crazy because that is just a new version of Mario Kart for the Wii U.
Little side story real quick. So apparently Mario Kart World, the new Mario Kart coming out for Switch 2, was supposed to come out on the Switch. But they pushed it back several years for the Switch 2 because the Switch couldn't handle it, because it just, the technology was just too old. So,
and what they should have done is release the Switch 2 earlier. Yeah. Listen, Nintendo knows what they're doing. I learned this about a lot of Japanese companies after sort of like the in the 80s. They lost a lot of money because of sort of like a Japanese bubble bursting, and having a lot to do with like imports for America and everything. So now a lot of Japanese companies, especially the big ones like Nintendo, just sit on a war chest of money, like an impossibly big war chest of money, so they can kind of do what they want and then drop their new console. And because they put the time and quality into it, they know people are going to enjoy it. All this to say, it is while this is this bad, I think most people won't have anything to do with that, and that's why they're not concerned about it.
Yeah.
And I still think that is like the wrong way to look at life, is to be like, oh, well, it's not going to affect me, so I'm not going to deal with it.
Yeah.
But it is how a lot of people are, because they're so hungry for the Switch 2, they're so hungry for the escapism right now. They're like, listen, you can set my body on fire, just give me the Switch 2.
Yeah, probably. You know, and you are right. It's probably not going to affect most people. I don't like the precedent all of this stuff sets. And it's just like, when are they going to stop? When does Nintendo be like, oh, you know what? Microsoft's doing pretty well with that Xbox Game Pass stuff. What if we stopped selling games and we forced everyone just to have a Nintendo subscription, and you have to just always have the Nintendo subscription, where it's our whole thing is this live service, you know, like you're paying another bill just like every month. And that's where I think this is going. And that's what I don't like about it. Because as soon as all the companies start doing that, like Xbox Game Pass is a phenomenal deal right now. But it's a phenomenal deal because it's like, what, $11 or $12 a month if it's just the PC Game Pass? And
and even for like 20, it's pretty good. But imagine it goes up to $50 a month.
Yeah, and if Nintendo is doing it, they set the precedent for Microsoft to come in and raise that price. They set the precedent for Sony to come in and raise that price. They set the precedent for Steam to be like, well, actually, to use Steam, you have to pay a subscription as well, because that's how they're going to squeeze more money out. And so I'm very concerned with the way things are going and how it really feels like we as individuals are not allowed to own anything. And that bothers me. And it's like, if even if it was just like, all right, you hacked your Switch, you're not allowed to use Nintendo Online. That makes total sense. That makes total sense
for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is like more of a country divide too. Like, the fact that in America, a lot of people are like, a lot of people mod their Switches, and America's like, yeah, whatever. And then like, you download as many games, you can do ROMs, you can do whatever. Nintendo is, I think, a little bit more tied in with their government, and so that they're like, yeah, we don't care that you're doing this. You are a company that makes us a ton of money, and this is their way of sort of getting around piracy, which sucks, obviously, because I think it reduces the freedom for all of us. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm just saying this is like, not even a devil's advocate, but a devil's like explainer is like, they're trying to get around piracy. It's still is bad,
but
I mean, it wrong.
Do you really think like piracy is not as bad now as it used to be when we were younger? Like, because games and everything, there's so much more access now. Like back in the day, like if you were pirating games, like that was a problem, where you were just downloading fully priced games and playing them and whatnot. But like the reason people download ROMs is because Nintendo refused to sell them. They would have bought, like, let me play Pokemon Fire Red on my phone. Sell it to me and I will pay for it. But they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And so then you have people making apps that'll emulate the Game Boy Advance so you can play it on your phone. And, there's many other examples of stuff like that. But that's on them for not making the rest of their game library accessible. And that seems like they can frame it in the way of like, oh, we're combating piracy. But it's just like, I'll give you an example. We talked about EA a little bit earlier. I love this real-time strategy, Lord of the Rings real-time strategy called Battle for Middle-earth. I believe I've brought it up on the show before, maybe in like season 1. And I absolutely love that game. I would happily pay EA to play that game, but they don't sell it. And so
there's no way to play it. Yeah.
And so I have to go online and I have to jerry rig this game into running on my computer so I can enjoy the game. But, that's on the company to sell it to me. I shouldn't be in trouble if there's no way to actually buy the product. So
it's like games preservation is also a big discussion that people have, and Nintendo has a big place in that because they are one of the companies that has a lot of classics. Earthbound, you can't really get that anywhere. Mm-hmm. A lot of it they did bring to the eShop, which is great. But there's for a long time there were so many games that you just couldn't play because you couldn't find access to this physical cartridge, and ROMs were the only way to do it. And for developers, for all sorts of people, that was a key element of just preserving what was there and what kind of brought us to where we are. That said, now, I don't know. I do think that like there's a lot of games piracy that still goes on, but it is older games and it's stuff that people are going to maybe pay $20 for. Nintendo's not going to make a bunch of money on it anyway. It's a very interesting time, and I think hopefully this is just like a hiccup that doesn't cause too much, but it does feel like another step down a road of just not really owning anything. Right. And I think the fact that you have a physical console in your house that you could have not connected to the internet, that they won't allow you to play games on if you play games a way that they don't like, or you buy an accessory that is not Nintendo approved,
Yeah.
Like that's the worst way I could see this going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, we are at an hour, so we got to cut it off. A lot of news we had to get through this week. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode 78 of the GGG Podcast. Heated discussion at the end, a lot of energy and passion. I liked it, both with the AI voiceover of Darth Vader, with Helldivers 2, with all the Nintendo stuff we just went over. So it's a good podcast, Phil. Very, very happy.
Hey, well done, Paul. Well done as always.
Yes. Excellent. All right, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. And if you're listening to the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Podcast, follow us over there as well. We will see you next week. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.